Hi BookTube, it's Peg. I am at the History Shelf. I thought I'd make this video to catch you up on some of the things I've recently finished reading and the books I am currently in progress of reading. So I guess, again, technically, I guess it would be like a April wrap-up slash May TBR. But hey, what do you think about my shirt? History nerd? Huh? I just got that. That was an impulse buy at the History List. I think that's the name of the store. Um, this commemorates the 75th anniversary of Operation Overlord, D-Day. So, anyway, kind of goes with the theme of everything here at the History Shelf. Okay, so let's start off with the books I've recently finished. Okay, this was a buddy read, and I recently finished this. Oh, maybe a couple weeks ago. This is a biography on Henry David Thoreau, A Life by Laura Dasso Wells. This was fabulous. 500-page in-depth biography on a man that everyone relates to, Walden, civil disobedience, but he wrote many other essays. He was a staunch abolitionist, and he was active in anti-slavery activities. Helped hide runaway slaves, trying to get them north over into Canada. Obviously, a huge lover of nature, but he was more than just, people think he was just a tree hugger or something, but he was a deeply philosophical man, and obviously tied in with Ralph Waldo Emerson. Say that 5 times fast. They were great friends. They hit some rocky times towards the end of their lives, but this was fascinating. You get to know so much about not only Thoreau, but the time and place that he lived in, early 19th century Massachusetts, Concord. That's where he was from. And he did a lot of traveling, a lot of walking around. He took a lot of excursions. He was an outdoorsman, obviously. Little known fact about Thoreau I learned was that, when he went to his shack on Walden Pond, I thought he was just out there like a recluse, just living there for 2 years. But no, it really wasn't like that. Walden Pond was quite close to the village of Concord, so people could actually just take a day and trundle down to the pond, and they'd see him out there near his shack and wave. And he had an interesting habit of, if he wanted company, he would put a lone chair outside of his door, which meant come on by and we can talk, and we'll talk books and art and literature and ideas. And then on the weekends, he would go back home to have dinner with his family, his mother, his sisters, or his sister. One of his sisters died. It was just fascinating. And he would go visit his friends, and then go back to the shack and do his writing. So anyway, and Walden wasn't published until several years after the whole experience of living out there. So. Yeah, it was interesting. I'm glad that I got to know a little bit more about him. I do have the Library of America book, which includes his main writings. There were some interesting stories in here that he was tied in with so many of the great thinkers of the time and the transcendentalist thinkers. Ralph Waldo Emerson being one, but Bronson Alcott, who is the father of Louisa May Alcott. So there's memories of Louisa, they grew up having Henry around, It's just so interesting. I highly recommend this. It was a great biography. It was a great buddy read. I did that with John David and Sharon Goforth and Hannah, and Hannah's books. Just fabulous. 5-star read. So I finished that one. And then recently finished another history. This was a book Steve Donahue had sent me, and it was longer than I thought it would be. The size is misleading, but it was like 360 pages. But this is Tombstone, The Earp Brothers, Doc Holliday, and the Vendetta Ride from Hell by Tom Clavin. He wrote Dodge City and also Wild Bill, which I have Dodge City on my shelf over there. This is his. I just wrote a review for this actually for Open Letters Review, which has been posted. So I will include the link below in the comment section, and that'll take you to Open Letters Review. This was a fun read. I grew up reading westerns and Louis L'Amour's, and I was just, along with the Civil War, I was really tied into the Old West. I wanted to be a cowboy. I wanted to be a gunslinger. I don't know. It's just that American thing, just out there on a horse and you got your pistol. We all love a good western, right? I mean, I would think most of us do, but anyway, it's a fascinating story. It makes me want to watch the Kurt Russell Tombstone movie again. I've seen it many times, but that was so well casted, and just I think it's become like a classic amongst the Tombstone fanatics out there. But interesting book. It had a lot. My written review will tell you more about it, but I'll just give you some fun facts. You think of the Earp brothers, and you think of these three. You got Virgil, Wyatt, and Morgan. Well, there were a lot of brothers actually. They had a half brother, Newton. Then there was James, who was actually in Tombstone. He was a bartender there. Okay, and he helped them sometimes join their posse when they needed to deputize guys to go and round up, bad guys. So there was James, then Virgil, then Wyatt, then Morgan, and then a younger kid named Warren. And he also was in Tombstone helping these guys out, but you never see or hear about them. So there are a lot of Earp brothers. Wyatt, Morgan, and Virgil had an interesting habit of not marrying the women they were with. I guess they were just considered their wives, but they were like common law. Some of the women had some, and James too. His wife was they owned a brothel. And Wyatt Earp, he was arrested early in his youth for stealing a horse. There's a lot of interesting things. And you got Doc Holliday over here. And contrary to what the movies say, he was not a good shot. He was not good. See, I know, it blows away the conceptions of I'll be your Huckleberry. Doc Holliday was not a good shot. But he was ready to scrap. He didn't care. He would just keep shooting until he hit something. So
outside of the barn.
Doc Holliday, he was really good friends with Wyatt. That part is true. And another interesting, entertaining part of this was the day before the shootout, which happened on October 26, 1881. Ike Clanton, who was just...
He's a nice guy.
No, he was just a... When the chips were down, that guy ran. There was like a cloud of dust, like where he was, poof. He didn't really, and then the movie kind of shows that he was just a kind of a coward, but he was wandering around the town, like threatening Virgil. They had an all-night card game. Virgil went home to go sleep. He was a marshal in town at the time, and Ike was still drunk, and he's just wandering around like, I'm gonna fight you, Earps, and he's just like looking into store shops, and the women are like, go away. He's wandering around all day long, just wanting to start a fight, until finally someone went and got Virgil and like, you gotta do something about Ike. He's just wandering around town bothering everybody.
This perv is in the window.
He's trying. No, so it was kind of amusing, but it's a good history because it takes you from the very beginnings of, Clavin takes you, it's a nice overall history of like the Arizona Territory, the founding of Tombstone, which was a mining town. I think silver was what they were mining for. Talked about the guy who founded the town, Ed Schifflin. There's a huge cast of characters in this book. It was a lot of fun. You got Curly Bill Brocious, you got Johnny Ringo. Oh yeah, another thing about Johnny Ringo, they show in the movies that he and Doc Holliday hated each other because they were educated men and they knew Latin or something like that. So what Tom Clavin is saying, he's like, he might have learned some Latin, but don't get it twisted. Johnny Ringo was just a straight up thug. There was nothing redeeming about Johnny Ringo. So yeah, it goes into when the Earps came to town, and they were trying to, set up a business. They didn't really want to get into lying, and what he calls lying. Makes it into a verb, but they ended up doing that anyway. They became stagecoach drivers for a while for Wells Fargo. And then tensions just mounted with this group called the Cowboys, which was the Clantons, Ike Clanton, Billy Clanton, and then the McLaurys, Tom and Frank McLaury. And then you had some guys coming in and out like Curly Bill, Johnny Ringo, Billy Claiborne. There was just a huge cast of characters, and just like a great rousing Western movie. It's very entertaining. And the whole premise of the book is just that a way of life was ending in the Wild West with the OK Corral shootout. Because after that, people had basically had enough. I mean, electricity had just been introduced into Tombstone in 1881, the year of the shootout. People wanted civilization. They were just tired of these guys riding through town, constantly robbing stagecoaches outside of town, raising havoc. People are just trying to raise a family and not have all this mayhem. So when this happened, and then of course when they came back and the Cowboys were after the OK Corral, they came back for vengeance and they murdered Morgan Earp. They shot him in the back while he was playing pool, and that's what started the vendetta ride. And that's when Wyatt put aside the lawmaking side and said, I'm taking care of this, because as the book points out, the people who were in charge on a county and a state level and gubernatorial level, they were not enforcing the law at all. And I think Wyatt knew that, and he just said, I'm going after the men who killed him, and I will kill them. And he took along a posse. They went out and they killed him, and for some reason, I mean, he was pretty much just let go when he finally, they went after him and his posse with another posse, Johnny Behan and all the guys, but no one wanted to face down Wyatt Earp. I mean, Sheriff Behan was a sellout, and he was a coward too as well. He just did not try to really stop the vendetta from happening. But then after that, so Tombstone, was starting to die anyway from a lack of the mining had run had run out, but a way of life was ending, and the Wild West, as we know it, really kind of ended with Tombstone. I mean, he kind of started with his other books on Dodge City, Wild Bill Hickok, all those cattle towns that were just kind of wild and crazy. Things wound up in 1881. I mean, you might have had some minor affairs here and there, but the way of the West was changing. Anyway, it was a great book, so I really enjoyed Tombstone by Tom Clavin. A book of fiction that, this was an advanced copy, and I finished it, and it looks like the publishing, it was supposed to come out this month, but I just checked their the website, and it looks like, probably because of the virus and just the ability for authors to have their works seen, this has been pushed out to August. But this is a work of fiction that was in translation. I believe this was in translation because translated from the French. Okay, so this is Villa of Delirium by Adrian Getz. This is translated from the French by Natasha Lehrer. This is put out by New Vessel Press. I just was given this book, and I was like, let me give it a try. It sounds kind of interesting. Wow, really good. Let's read you the back of the book real quick. Along the French Riviera, an illustrious family enthralled to classical antiquity builds a fabulous villa, a replica of a Greek palace. The Rhinox, related to other wealthy Jews like the Rothschilds and the Ephrussis, attempt in the early 1900s to recreate a pure beauty lost to modernity and fill it with the pursuit of pleasure and knowledge. The narrator of this brilliant novel calls the imposing house on the Côte d'Azur an act of delirium, above all an optimistic act, proof that one could reset time as one could reset a clock and resist the outside world. The story of the villa and its glamorous inhabitants is recounted by the son of a servant from a neighboring estate, one belonging to Gustave Eiffel, designer of the Paris Tower. As a youth, the son is adopted by the Rhinox, initiated into the era of Socrates and instructed in classical Greek. He joins the family on a pilgrimage to Athens, undergoes another initiation after falling in love with a married woman, and survives the confiscation of the house by the Nazis and the deportation to death camps of Rhinox grandchildren. Illuminating humanity's ceaseless quest for perfection, curiosity about the past, and capacity for love and evil, this is a Greek epic for the modern era. And that's a great description. This book was just filled with heady intellectual references to ancient Greece, ancient literature from Greece, art, architecture features prominently in this book. And then, so when I was reading this, I was like, is this a made up family? I Googled the Rhinox. No, this was a real, because they talk about the three brothers, the three Rhinox brothers, Joseph, Solomon, and Theodore. And Theodore Rhinox is the one who takes on this young boy. His name is Achilles, actually, and mentors him and grooms him to be like his intellectual assistant. And he becomes friends with the son of one of the other brothers. They're best friends, and they end up going into war in World War One. I went online and looked up because it's called the Villa Kerylos, Keryllos, Kerylos. There is such a villa. It's a museum now, and the Rhinox were Jews who were, very much French patriots and highly intellectual men. One of them had written. He worked very hard on the defense of Dreyfus for the Dreyfus affair. So he was defending him. I think that was Joseph. But I just learned a ton, and this is a work of fiction. But if you look up the Villa Kerylos, it's just this beautiful villa, like whitewashed like walls, very much looking like a Greek palace on the very edge of this water. And oh, it's so beautiful. By the time I finish this book, it's like I want to go, if I could go travel. I want to go there. It looks lovely, but it's just filled with Greek allusions and references, and it's really, I don't want to say highbrow, but it's just if you love reading and talking about or thinking about the ancient Greeks, this is a very, really good book. There's a really understated but very poignant love story that kind of flows throughout. It's just weaved in and out very subtly. I thought it was done fabulous. It's just fabulous work. And normally fiction doesn't really work for me on a level. But this hit it all for me because it was all these things that I was looking up. Like works of art, works of literature. I think I even went and bought a used book about the status of the Jews in France during this time, because I was like, that was one of the books that was referenced in the back. In the acknowledgments, most of these books that he used for references were not translated. They're still in French, but one of them it says available in English, The Jews of the Republic, A Political History of State Jews in France from Gambetta to Vichy. Stanford Studies, Stanford University Press. I found a used copy for like $5. I was like, let me check that out. I wonder if they'll reference the Rhinox in this. It's one of those books, again, that just takes me down an intellectual rabbit hole. Loved it. So, thanks for indulging me on that. Let's see. So those are like 3 books I can say I have finished. Now, the books that I am currently working on are... Where are you? This was another book I am still reading that I started last month. It's another buddy read with John David. Sharon, go forth. I don't know if Hannah was doing it or not, but we were calling it the Tardy Trollops because we weren't in time to do the Trollop read along on Steve's channel. But this is the way we live now. This is how far I am. The type is very small. I mean, give me a break. Okay. So I'm 300 pages in, but I'm really enjoying it. This is my first experience with Anthony Trollop. He's a very witty kind of writer. You can tell he has a certain type of glee when he's writing these stories. And the characters are amusing. Some are infuriating, but yeah. So I'm currently reading The Way We Live Now. Um, and then I've started a buddy read this month, and we'll see how long it takes to finish this book. I'm not putting any time limits on me, but but I'm doing this buddy read with Patrice Jones and Lukash from Totally Pretentious. This is 1491. The New Revelations of the Americas Before Columbus by Charles C. Mann. And you might have seen that this one was on my my shelf tour not too long ago. It was right next to the book that came after that, which is 1493. So I'm guessing that one will be about the year after Columbus arrived and what the New World looked like a year after he had arrived there. But this is right up my alley as well. When I start reading these, I kind of want to immediately start pulling out all my archaeology magazines and trying to find all the different articles on like Central Mexico, South America. Yeah, so I'm about 40 pages in, and I'm really enjoying it. Okay, so the plans are, I have a very large book to read before June 10th or so. This is big. So I've just started The Eighth Life by Nino Haratishvili. I'm I'm already really enjoying it. I'm like 36 pages in. I just really started it last night. But it is a monster book, as you can see. Oh, and the other book I've started, hold please. Oh, where are you? There we go. I just had to get that ready. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't realize how many books I'm starting this month. So The Eighth Life. So I've got a big fiction book. Woo! Look at that. Do some left. All right. This one is at the start of the 20th century, on the edge of the Russian Empire, a family prospers. It owes its success to a delicious chocolate recipe, passed down the generations with great solemnity and caution, a caution which is justified. This is a recipe for ecstasy that carries a very bitter aftertaste. Stasia learns it from her Georgian father and takes it north, following her new husband Simon to his posting at the center of the Russian Revolution in St. Petersburg. You know, the Russian history lover in me, I'm all over anything that covers this time frame. Stasia's is only the first in a symphony of grand but all too often doomed romances that swirl from sweet to sour in this epic tale of the Red Century. All right. This is translated by Charlotte Collins and Ruth Martin. This is put out by Scribe. I've already gotten to the part where she meets Simon, and that she's fallen in love with him. But she sounds like quite the character. So just started that.
Is that code for something?
What?
Like a loose lady.
Oh, what do you mean? No, she's funny. Like when he meets her, she's like, "What are you doing?" Like the house is empty. He shows up and she's like, "What are you doing here?" It's like 19 something, and he's like, "Oh, I'm here to meet your father." She's like, "What?" She's like, "Why is the house empty?" And she goes, "Oh, now I know. You're the one. They want me to marry you."
Yeah.
And she gives him a hard time, like, "You just want to end my life. You won't let me dance if I marry you," and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, "No, I just want to hang out with you and get to know you more." It was really cute. It's a cute beginning.
No, you can't dance.
She's got a Stasia. She's very she's a firecracker. I can tell already. So I'm starting that one. Oh yeah. Gosh, I got a lot of fiction going on this month. Well, I got the 1491, which is nonfiction history. Okay, so I have another history which I've decided I will start. Let's go there first. This will be the next book I'm going to read and do a review for on Open Letters Review, hopefully. This is Roger Morehouse's Poland, 1939, the outbreak of World War II. I had heard so much about this in its UK version, I think First to Fight. On Twitter, I've just seen a lot of friends over on the other side of the pond have already gotten their hands on it and loved it. This is the American version. I guess they just decided to rename it. I don't know why, but I am intrigued by this. I know I might have some kinship with the Polish people, although my name is technically, my grandfather comes from Germany. They immigrated here, but those maps change so much over time. I just don't know. I'd have to do a DNA test. The villages, I looked it up. The village that they came from is very near where present day Poland is. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm German, but I really admire the Polish people and their what they've been through over the course of centuries. So this is going to be an interesting book. Let me just read this to you. For Americans, World War II began in December of 1941 with the bombing of Pearl Harbor. But for Poland, the war began on September 1st, 1939, when Hitler's soldiers invaded, followed later that month by Stalin's Red Army. The conflict that followed saw the debut of many of the features that would come to define the later war. Blitzkrieg, the targeting of civilians, ethnic cleansing, and indiscriminate aerial bombing. Yet it is routinely overlooked by historians. In Poland, 1939, Roger Morehouse re-examines the least understood campaign of World War II, using original archival sources to provide a harrowing and very human account of the events that set the bloody tone for the conflict to come. So I am very much looking forward to this. This is put out by Basic Books. And this book is about 320 pages without the footnotes. So that'll be my next history undertaking, and I look forward to writing about this one. All right, along those lines, I finally am going to start reading this book. Could take a couple months. It might take more. This will be a buddy read with Kara Middleton. She is a familiar and frequent commenter on my videos.
Love you, Cara.
Love you, Kara. That was Martine. You've just doing our buddy read over Voxer, which I think is what everyone out there on BookTube is using to have buddy read conversations and messages. We have decided to do this one. I don't know. Well, what am I thinking? Stalingrad by Vasily, right? Vasily?
Yes.
Vasily.
Yes.
Vasily Grossman. This is the prelude to Life and Fate, which I think, like last year, was on everyone's lips. Life and Fate was published before Stalingrad, but technically, in the chronology of the books, Stalingrad should be first. So I'm going to go. We're going chronologically. I want to read Stalingrad first. So this is his classic. I'll give you a quick read on this. In April 1942. Hitler and Mussolini meet in Salzburg, where they agree on a renewed assault on the Soviet Union. Launched in the summer, the campaign soon picks up speed as the routed Red Army is driven back to the industrial center of Stalingrad on the banks of the Volga. In the rubble of the bombed-out city, Soviet forces dig in for a last stand. The story told in Vasily Grossman's Stalingrad unfolds across the length and breadth of Russia and Europe, and its characters include mothers and daughters, husbands and brothers, generals, nurses, political activists, steelworkers, and peasants, along with Hitler and other historical figures. At the heart of the novel is the... I'm just taking a breath to make sure I can pronounce this. At the heart of the novel is the Shaposhnikov family. Okay, Shaposhnikov. I got it. Even as the Germans advance, the matriarch, Alexandra Vladimirovna, refuses to leave Stalingrad. Far from the front, her eldest daughter, Ludmila, is unhappily married to the Jewish physicist Victor Strum. Victor's research may be of crucial military importance, but he is distracted by thoughts of his mother in the Ukraine, lost behind German lines. In Stalingrad, published here for the first time in English translation, and in its celebrated sequel, Life and Fate, Grossman writes with extraordinary power and deep compassion about the disasters of war and the ruthlessness of totalitarianism, without, however, losing sight of the little things that are the daily currency of human existence, or of humanity's inextinguishable, saving attachment to nature and life. Grossman's two-volume masterpiece can now be seen as one of the supreme accomplishments of 20th century literature. Tender and fearless, intimate and epic. So yes, technically 2 volumes, but we're going to be doing a Stalingrad. This is a chunkster. This is over 1,000 pages. Yeah. Okay. Wow, Kara. We sure can pick them. Good luck to you. No, I mean, but you know what? The type is kind of, it might be doable just because the type is nicely spread apart. The galleys on the side are very wide. So it's actually a narrow page of text. If you think about it, you could read this page you could read a page very quickly.
I like your rationalization.
I'm trying to rationalize why I'm doing this to myself when
Actually,
I have to finish this in a month.
If I squint, it's almost 16 points. And
I can't do
if I
this.
read every other page, I should be done in a year.
You guys, I take on a lot of stuff. I love it, but sometimes I take on so much that then I start to stress out. I'm not stressing right now. I'm not stressing because I got 3 of these things finished over here. You know, I think I'm good. I've got some structure to my days and nights as to when how many pages I need to read at night before bed, how much I can read in the evening, how much I can read in the weekends.
So we'll see you for about 5 minutes for the next 2.
Yeah. You know, you probably wonder why I don't put out a video every day, and this is why.
I don't know what you were going to say.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, don't know what she's going to say.
Well, go back and rewatch the tape.
Okay, well. History nerd. Those are the things that I have read or been reading. Oh, I wanted to show you a journal entry. Could you hand me that over there? Sorry. You guys, I hope you're still around. This is a 32-minute video. To go along with the Thoreau biography, I know a lot of you out there are, thank you, big Ralph Waldo Emerson fans and Thoreau fans. In the winter 2020 issue, I'm going to link this. I looked it up, and the article is free. If I subscribe to this magazine, this is American Scholar. This was the winter 2020 issue. There's a section in the magazine called the Writer's Corner, I think, or Writing Spaces, which is so delightful. And I've read this one on Emerson. Yeah, this one's called Channeling Emerson. Okay, this is Writing Spaces, right there. It says, at work in his timeless smoke-scented ghost-crammed study at the old manse. And then you read, and it's a great article on Emerson. And then they have this one, a transcendentalist at work. Thoreau spent his last dozen years in this garret, making sense of what he could see from his windows. So I was just like, this is perfect timing. I just finished reading about Thoreau. So for my book reading buddies out there, my buddy read guys, I'm going to link the articles below in the comment section. The Emerson one I know was unlocked. So, but I thought you guys might find that intriguing, and that's in an American Scholar. Thanks for bringing that over.
You're welcome.
All right, so, you know, I have received a few more books in the mail. Mostly, I think I have some used items. Let me show you real quick. I got a new magazine subscription. This is Minerva, and how beautiful is this magazine? This is the magazine of archaeology and ancient art. Oh, they sent me a deal in the mail, and I said, you know what? I have to, because I love ancient history.
I thought you were going to say, I have to, because of Harry Potter. But you didn't know that Professor McGonagall's first name was Minerva.
I didn't. What is my dog doing over there?
She's drawing attention.
My dog is drawing attention. She could be yakking. Martine's going to handle it. Oh my goodness. Okay, guys, well, so I've got this Minerva subscription. Um, they had a great deal going. I think it was like $14.95 or $19.95 for a 1-year subscription. But okay, I have more things to show you as far as what I've got in the mail that are new, but I'll save that for another video as the autofocus goes in and out. Okay guys, 35 minutes. I'm sorry for the long video. Some of you like long videos, some of you may not. But anyway, I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. Welcome to new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. And let's see, we'll keep it going. I've got more videos to make. But as you can see, I've got a lot of reading to do. So let me get going on that. You guys have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon, BookTube. Bye.